So I'll just start by presenting myself. I'm Benoit Liard. I'm based in Montreal. I'm the lead of technology here in Montreal. And I'm working at Valtec since over now 7 years and a half almost. And I'm just playing with a bunch of technology since I'm born. I have a past of creative technologist, so it's I just try to ask things and stuff. So I'm pretty happy to be with you today. So the goal today is an introduction to circular economy. I just want to let everybody know that I'm not at all an expert of circular economy. We are in the process of learning a lot of new information and concept regarding the circular economy in Valtec, especially in Montreal right now. And this is a tech point of view and / dreamer about what we can do with the technology and what we can leverage and philosophy and stuff like that around the circular economy. So, oh, there's somebody in the room. Is it I guess Ariane, you're doing the VJ. So, yeah, let's jump to the subject. So first of all, I've just mentioned, it's I'm a tech guy at the basic. And I just want to mention that I think that technology is not the absolute answer for a more sustainable world or a sustainable world, because maybe it's not more and we are not at that state yet. But I think it's only something that is available to solve the problem at some point. So I would be more than happy if after throwing all this information and thought that we would have this exchange, what you're thinking, opportunities and problem that you are observing, and what is you're thinking about all this. So let's first start with what we are doing in Montreal right now. So since the beginning of the year, we have a committee here in Montreal in our office that is called Valtec, which is some kind of word tongue twister kind of thing for Valtec and Valtec, which means green tech. This committee actually is just trying to put in place the knowledge in our team and bringing the level of everyone to the same baseline up regarding circular economy. So far we had 2 training, which all the employees have had the chance to participate. One of them was regarding the virtual events that we are creating here. It's how we can create a more sustainable virtual event, which is the side counterpart of when you go to a festival or something like this, you will get recycled containers and recycling the garbage and having the minimal impact on your event. So we can do actually the same thing for the virtual event. Beside that, all the employees have been trained on environmental responsibility in the workplace, which means a lot of circular economy principles have been taught at that moment, and what we can do and the basic of circular economy. At the same time, we had the chance to encourage, in this pandemic world, the local business by offering to the employee local eco-responsible and circular economy present, which I can show you a little bit more later. So what is circular economy? Because the topic is an intro to the circular economy. The concept is not something really new. It's something that appeared in the late 60s, And there was like how we can manage to create something that is like more sustainable in an economic system point of view. And there was like a lot of idea that have been pushed in some ways during these years. And since like the 2010, around this, there was the Ellen MacArthur Foundation that have been created to just push a bit more like the concept of circular economy to respond to the challenge that we are actually facing with climate change. So what circular economy is trying to achieve, actually, it's just to create a shift from what the economy that we know since over 200, 300 years have been. It's like in this industrial world, it's like where you will harvest the resources, do extraction, and do a manufacturing to create a product, then distribute the product, using it and like throwing it away. Right now, there's a lot of things that is like this. If we think about the plastic that we are like, I think, over consuming, it's like we need to break this habit of like just like going to the buffet, getting all the resources and like throwing them away just like there's no ending. If we continue like this, for example, like every year we came up in mid-June and it's always a little bit earlier every year, but it's like it seems that we reached the maximum of resources that we can harvest for like a sustainable development for future generation. So usually we use almost like 1.7 planet per year of resources that we just throw and don't recycle or taking care of what will be the consequence for the next generation. So this model actually produces an exponential waste as an outcome. So every year we have more and more pollution and waste that is there. Like I said, that was the good old time where there's no limit and the future will be always the same. The thing is that right now we are facing like a crisis with the climate change and like the overconsumption of goods is like slowly changing the climate and the resources and like the crisis that the humankind is facing is like creating this emergency sentiment more and more. So the circularity, it's an interesting concept. I think it's like transforming the way we do things by taking the example of nature where the notion of waste does not exist. It's really interesting when you see like a forest by itself, like the way it's working. Actually, you have like it's spring here right now in Montreal. There's little leaf that is like growing, and you can look at the ground where you have like the old system that have been like the past season, all the leaf fall, and there's like a natural destruction feeding the soil and like creating the energy to make the plants grow and making food and water clean and the fish can grow and all this complex ecosystem that is all related all together. I like the fact that the circularity is based on observing nature. And for those who are coming from a software development world, maybe some of you know like the nature of design pattern, like the nature of pattern language from Christopher Alexander, which was like in some way like observing the nature and like how we can reproduce this pattern to solve like problem in a more in a better way. So there was a little link there that was interesting. So what is the definition of the circular economy? I'll just take the time to read that thing because I think it's really important. It's like a circular economy is a production, exchange, and consumption system that optimizes the use of resources at all stages of the life cycle of a good or a service. In a circular logic, while reducing the environmental footprint and contributing to the well-being of individual and communities. This is like a systemic approach of like what the world is based on. It's like everything is like in a way transformation of something that will create some value at some point, and we just need to how can I say this, like bring more value to what we get as an output, as a good or service. This transformation comes with many social benefits, I think. Job creation, wealth, equity. There's a lot of human aspect and impact in all this at different level. And yeah, this is like the main definition. So you probably already saw like this kind of diagram where we have all the principle of like the circular economy. I think the main aspect of this, it's like the input, it's like reducing that input. It's like it's not true that we can harvest and do extraction of metals and resources for the infinite. We need to take care and think at every time of the production of a good or services, like what we can reuse and how we can repurpose that thing at the end to eventually like avoiding the extraction of like resources. The extraction of resources is it's not only the material when we produce things, but it's also the energy. Energy is like the major part of this extraction, and I'll just come back to it later on. So in the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they came up with a bunch of concepts. I invite you to go and do your training on this website. There's a lot of information regarding what we can do. There's like this 9 R's strategy where actually you can just at different level think about what you can do at every step. There's the refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and recover. There's a lot to remember, but maybe there's also other like concept where we just start with the 3 R's, where it would be like reduce, reuse, and recycle. By reducing, maybe I can just do a quick segue for the next talk next week, which is about low tech. I think there's a lot of potential at that level, but let's keep these 3 to go further and like build something on top of this. Like in the world right now, we have a bunch of good example. There's this company here in Canada where it's called Loop, where they are just like repurposing and recycling like the food waste that is produced by all the grocery store. They are taking vegetable and fruits and bread actually to create like gin, beer, and juice, cold press, and probiotic soda, and soap, and even dog food out of it. So it was something that was having no value at all, and they just went to see all this grocery and they start like telling to them, hey, I'll buy your garbage to produce my product to bring value to it, and not like just throwing it away, and being more efficient in some way. There's this interesting fact where actually half of the food here in Canada is like more than the half is like going to the garbage at some point. It's not like something that we should be really proud. So for a good thing, there's companies that are starting to think how we can reduce all this loss in the system. So that was like the fundamental. So far, if you don't have any question, I can go and we can get like the Q&A at the end. So let's jump on this one. And what about the technology? Just a little thing. It's like this is me on the picture. Actually, when I was kid, like at the Expo Science, I think I was like around 13 or 14 years old, and the fun fact was that I was like doing a little software which was involving like IoT, and it was like the theme of the software that have been developed was the world in danger, where actually it was like at that time already to highlight where there's a like climate problem and what we can do, and like highlighting what are the impact. And there was this little map on the side where there was a lights, and you could trigger stuff on the software and it would actually turn on the light on the wall with the map. So that was a fun fact actually, and you can see that my colleague next to me was like talking about windmills and stuff like that. So just a quick jump. So there's that thing where technology actually can just like bring a change in society at some point with like education and the way we solve problem. At that time, after, I had like computer science class, and I remember like the first thing you learn is like this. It's like the basic input, the CPU, and the output. It's like all the process in some way can be simplified and shown in that manner. Even today, it's like more complex system, but it's basically input and output with a process. And somehow it's like, it just remember me like the linear economy where you would harvest the data at some point, and like you would process it, which would be the factory, and you would get the result where you can do like showing something on the screen or maybe reuse that information. So if we bring it back to the circular economy concept, I think we can see like the data as the input. So there's thinking, I think, where at that level where like every time we design a system in a software point of view is like, do we really need this data? Does it already exist somewhere? How did you collect this data? Is it ethical, or like did you get like too much data because you just you're a bit lazy as a developer and you just make sure that you play safe and you just want to grab everything for a future use? I don't know, but maybe you should think about what you're fetching. Where and how is it stored? There's different approach to store the data in the cloud, like a location, what kind of storage, and there's a lot of thinking, I think, behind the data and the ethical aspect. There's always the human factor behind the circular economy. It's like you need to make sure that you're doing it properly, and for a good thing, it's like we have all this like GDPR and stuff like that we have on our side. One of the thing after that, it's like the process, the factory, is like the concept of what we can do. Actually, it's like, are we using open source? Do we contribute to the open source? Open innovation is like concept, you know, it's like it's already there. It's something that we are used to do, but maybe we should push that thing a little bit more, like in the organization, right? All this data factory and the output, it's like it just consume energy, right? It's just like we create storage, we create infrastructure, we do transport the data across the network, we spend time to create software. We can be like 10 developer on a project, and maybe we are still rewriting the same code and like spending 6 months of like development for recreating something that might have been already created, and we are just like not creating wealth out of it and value. We're just like burning gas at some point. So we try to avoid this with the concept of open source and open innovation. Then how efficient is the algorithm? Is it like something that we are thinking all the time? I'm not sure. How do we use the network? If we have like microservices that just share a bunch of data across them just to do the same thing again and again, is it like the right approach? Maybe we should think about like the architecture of the software at that point. The design of the system, is it efficient enough? And I just insist of like the system, because there's a systemic approach of the circular economy at every aspect and level of what we are doing. And then how do we use the cloud? Do we use do we have to use the cloud? I just missed a little word there, but yes, maybe like right now we are just thinking in a way where we just rely on network and like connectivity, but maybe this application can work in some way offline on your mobile device, or I don't know. But maybe we just we should think about like how efficient our system will be developed. And then there's the output of the process, and hopefully it's not the waste. It can be displayed on the screen, but like what we are displaying, is it stored in some way? Because maybe we will need to re-show it to other people. Is it data that is reusable in some other system? What was the purpose of the outcome? Do you really need to do that thing at some point? It's like sometimes maybe we just create output because we think that it might be useful at some point, but this costs energy at some point. And are we creating value out of the result? I think this is an important aspect of software development. And what about the trust? Like if we say that we just do that thing properly, can we have a proof of what we are doing? I think it can be, and we have the tool actually to do the proof. So this is like a parallel from like the linear and like a way to solve all these things with the circular economy aspect of software development. What is the impact of the digital era in which we are living right now? I just mentioned like earlier that we had a training regarding like virtual event. There was so much information in this presentation. It could be a presentation by itself, like regarding like Damien just mentioned at the beginning of the talk, where we just turn off our camera, like how much energy we are saving doing this, like using the black mode, the dark mode. Is it like really saving energy? I think yes. It depends like which kind of screen you are using, but now like with the modern technology, it's like the LEDs are on or off. But yeah, it just reduces the way you consume the energy. And yeah, I can share some information later on with you regarding all this. So the life cycle of electronic products, it's like if we take, for example, like the release of the new iPhone from last week with this super nice iPad Pro with the 5G connection inside of it with AR and stuff like that. We need to think about the whole system again. It's like, what does it involve to have new technology that just like bring little enhancements to the previous product? Actually, maybe we will have to build a new infrastructure for networking, right? With the 5G, with microwave that are like closer antenna to the client. So maybe we will have to strip like the actual network that is behind all the thing that we are using right now. And is it like a recycle? Is it end of life? What we are doing with all this, like, it's a question that we need to think at every time we do a choice in our life regarding technology and like jumping on new tech. When we switch to a new device, what we are doing with them, there's that concept of Recommerce actually that I'll talk later on, but it's like more and more companies actually will buy your whole device to recycle all the sorry, the metal and the resources that is inside of your product. There's so we can see like the production is like let think about like the new iPhone. You will have like the harvest and the extraction, the logistic to ship all these devices across the world, the utilization that you will do, and like will you be able to reuse it, the disposal and recycling and so on. We just there's that cool project actually. It's called Shift Project, where they are just like computing a bunch of metric about like the actual cost of like all these new tech and like the way it work and like the footprint of greenhouse gas that you can create out of it. There's an estimation that like right now we are like producing about 4% just of greenhouse gas from the digital service, and with like the growth that we are actually seeing, it will reach 7% like in 2 years, and it's like exponential. One of the interesting aspects is the digital overconsumption. Right now, we are currently witnessing an explosion in our data consumption. It's more than 9% per year. And like the rise of the content streaming, video, audio calls with better quality messaging, online gaming is like taking a lot of energy and resources in the data centers network across the world. An interesting fact, I think it's like right now in North America, we have an estimate of like 9 connected device per house, which they are consuming an average of 1.4 gigabyte per year. I can say that I think this is somehow a little bit low. If I regard looking at what my personal life is all about, I can probably say that it's way more higher than this for a lot of us right now. An interesting metric also, it's like the mobile device is consuming 92% of the global data on the network right now. So it's there was a major shift to the mobile and the nomad digital life. And I think we should be a little bit more conscious about what we are doing at that level. And like I just said, there's so much metric that is there. I invite you to check the Green IT website, actually, where you can just browse different metrics about like what we are doing and different services and what we can do to change that all this. And yeah, I just put that little picture because I think there's a parallel in what technology was in the 70s in some way. It was the car era where we would just rely on petrol and like having more and more car. But at the end, it's like right now the car industry is just doing that shift to electricity, software like Tesla and so on. But like there's that new data that just like suck a lot of the energy that is available out there. What about the cloud? Actually, it's like I like this little representation of what is the cost of the energy regarding all the data center. It just consume a little bit more than what New York is, like the state of New York actually is consuming. And this is without their data center. So I know they have a bunch. And yeah, it's like it's an important aspect that the data is not like it's physical at some point. It lives somewhere. It need to be cooled by different system. There's place where it might be better, like up north or like Quebec, where there's hydroelectricity or windmills in northern Europe. Yeah. I just want to throw this one because with the pandemic, there's something regarding investment. I just saw that there was like in the past 5 months more money injected in the trading than it was like between 2009 and today. And there's a cost of like all the transactions that we are doing. Aside of this is like all the digital currency. Sometimes we say that it's gonna be the future, and like Bitcoin is having like this big moment right now. But you can see like in the chart what is the cost of like handling Bitcoin transaction like right now compared to other like blockchain technology and sign-in like the Ripples and Ethereum. And still an interesting fact like about maybe e-commerce, it's like we still have Visa and MasterCard right in the big picture, and all these digital currency exchange actually are maybe like a better solution right now, but like what is the counterpart of ethical and like trust and everything, I don't know. But yeah, and you can see obviously paper currency take a little bit more. Imagine that you need to print that money, you need to manipulate that money, like logistic of it, like trucks and so on. This is a nice data visualization, I think, for like where the data is hosted and like how it's fueled. This is like the future rollout of like coal and fossil energy for power plant. You can see that there's a big movement to creating new centrals across Asia and Europe and Africa, while that we are relying in the US mostly like on fuel energy and fossil energy, sorry. But like imagine that where you start to think to host your data, there's that proximity for sure. Like you want to avoid like crossing the globe with your data, but maybe you need to also consider how your energy is fueling the blockchain or the cloud system that is behind this. Again, it's like producing like a product get most of the energy that we are like relying right now. This is only the energy, right? It's not like the resources that we need to create new things. It's more like a specific approach of like the cost of energy and the greenhouse gas. So you can also see here that iron and steel, petrochemic, it's like other technology, right, and other industry, but it's still like consuming a lot, and yeah. So if we take like the product life cycle diagram, we did some little workshop on how, like on a software point of view, we can just actually answer some of the concerns that are in that development and what we can do to leverage this. And one of it is like the extraction. It's actually, if you think as a cloud infrastructure, like the acceptance of failure. Is it something that we can think that it could be like a plus to the system? Production, it's like reusing existing component, reusing existing data, using a design system, like we can just build on top of like the existing and enrich what we are creating, and like from this not recreating the work, right, and just reapplicate like what we need to do and concentrate on the new development. Other technology that can cover all the platform, actually, it's like if we think about like developing a mobile application, maybe it were to use a technology like Flutter, where you can actually have one software development team that would just develop your software in one way and can be deployed in different platform, which is like iOS, Android, or web, or wherever else it can be. There's a lot of work in there. But imagine that instead of not using something like this, you would have like 3 teams with 3 different technology, maintaining like 3 different contexts, and like working at the same time on the same thing to create the same software, but they cannot be the same guy because it's like it takes time. So we just decouple the effort there. The transport, like a network, is taking a lot of energy. Like every time we send a message with attachment, text message, I'm not the best at this. I usually write one sentence per per message. It's like I'll just initiate like a communication every time I do send. Maybe we should think about like what we do. And maybe CDN is good because we have replication, but then it owes more data across the world. There's like the pros and cons, right? Utilization, there's the serverless approach, which is interesting, I think, with all this Mac Alliance thought that we have in Valtec. It's like we can have this little microservices that is somehow the glue, and it's on demand. So we can just build what we exactly need, and like not hosting the rest of a monolithic system, and like using one tenth of what we really need. This is a good way of like thinking of the solution. Hyper centralization is the same concept. It's like it's like we can use a service that is like a backend as a service kind of thing approach, where actually you can say, okay, we can just use that system to feed our different experience, right? And then there's the end of life disposal, like what type of technology we are using. Is it like does it have a nice and bright future, or it's just like something that is a buzz at the moment and it won't be sustainable for the long term? Will we be able to support all devices? I don't know. Community support, like there's always the ecosystem from the stack that we are using that is there. That is like something that we should think. So it goes fast. Sorry, there's a lot of content. So how can we do something? What are the available tools, like the technology? I just want to mention that we are talking about the software point of view, right? It's like technology is it's really broad. It can be like a chemistry, biology, engineer, like it can be so many things. But like I just want to focus on what our craft can do to help and support like these initiatives for a better circular world, right? So there's all these cool kid on the block right now that is like AI that can be used for prediction, recommendation, personalization, and design. Let's say that we have prediction for failure. You know, we can probably like repair the part that will be broken, and maybe we can just improve what is breaking, like instead of just like replacing without thinking about it. We can do recommendation regarding what the person can what the person do really need in his consumer approach. maybe we can propose something else that is a better fit, right, for the specific need. Customization and 3D print is sometimes something related to all this. Personalization and design. Design, it's an interesting thing. It's like, imagine that you have a system where you have computer vision for sorting and recycling goods. Maybe the way the object is built actually is not optimal for these industrial process. Maybe there's ways actually to create a better way to create that product, so the machine that detect the thing and sort the waste actually can just find out what exactly it is and do a better sort. Quantum computing, it's something that can be interesting. It's all tools that are available, that is there, but we need to take a step into it. It's like quantum computing can be good for simulation of complex scenario regarding climate change. I know that Microsoft is working hard in that direction with some of their partner regarding climate change. There's the blockchain, actually. It's like one of the interesting aspect of the blockchain, I think, in this circular economy is it's more what is regarding the certification, authentication, and trust. And the trust, I think it's really the key thing there. The trust is like wealth and value. It's like more that the more you can trust what you are like actually buying, or like the way that been processed and sourced, the bigger you can ask, because like the customer can ask for that information, right? And you can prove that you are doing the thing properly and you're paying the right price for what you are buying. Serverless, cloud, no cloud, the Jamstack on demand, just I mentioned earlier before. The Jamstack, I really like this thing. I think it just brings us to the early 90s, where we had to build our little website in HTML with the constructor man, like self-host and all static. Then we went really far in the creating dynamic website with all these server and like having custom interaction. And there's that comeback where actually you can just host on a simple static server, secure, avoiding all the trouble to maintain these solutions. So yeah, there's something there. Like I said, mobile, it's an important thing. 92% of the traffic is mobile, so we cannot avoid this. We need to be mobile first in our mindset, I think. We can use these apps actually to feed a system for blockchain with computer vision, pictures, and so on. Digital twins, it's something that is more and more important. I think it's like where you can have like the physical and the digital simulation of like the physical world. You can test what you're doing. It's a nice tool. IoT is part of like a higher traffic with the 5G coming. More and more objects will be connected, but at the same time, why not, if we are using all these sensors and information to actually be more efficient in what we are observing and like triggering in our system, right? And then there's the robotic. Robotics are like the robot right now are doing more and more different tool process, and they can do a little bit more than just like putting a screw at the same place for the whole day. And they can also do something that it can be 24 hours, right? There's the system thinking. Again, it's like, I think the opportunity is there. It's like there's the design thinking that we all used to know, which is like a more bottom-up approach of human-centered approach. System thinking, it's more like top-down. It's like we see the big picture and we can identify like different aspects where we can be more efficient, right? And this brings me to the opportunities. where like if you look to all of them, there are somehow a system, right, where you have like humans interacting and like having input and output. So we can see like smart cities, like transportation, housing, local community development, smart lighting, waste management. It's all area where the software technology can be support to change to a more circular approach. Industry 4.0, like I said, robots are like more and more sophisticated. I really like the concept of micro factory where you can be closer to the market, right? And you could imagine having like a little factory into the corner of your street where you would actually dispose of your goods that you're not using anymore. And this little robot actually would repurpose the thing based on what you want to build at that location. There's that car company actually in New York who do 1 car per day, like in the back warehouse on the corner of the street. It's really interesting, I think. The workspace, we are in the post-pandemic, the beginning of the post-pandemic world. The workspace is changing, right? I think there's the concept of mutualization where we can just share space and resources across our organization. Why you would need all these fancy equipment instead of like sharing it to others when you are just using 10% out of it, right? Open innovation, I think it's something important. We need to think about like how we can all work together, breaking the barrier, because the problem is complex and we can just solve little part all together, right? And for sure, remote working, it's something that we will need to think. Food and water, it's more like a natural thing, close to the circular economy. Food system, permaculture, urban farm, high density farm in cities, right? The energy monitoring, it's like a lot of things where technology can bring some help and answers. And then there's the commerce, right? Supply chain, repurpose, digital and physical product. Can they live all together? The cost of capital. This is an interesting one. I think right now, I think we just saw it like last week. There was a ton of engagement across the world that is just like, this is the next big shift in the mobilization, what we can do to solve like the way we are living right now with the climate change and like the loss of ecosystem. There's a lot of capital. There's that trend toward green economic planning, the green bonds, lowering the cost of capital for companies working to eliminate carbon footprint. There's money there, and by chance, because like the objectives that have been raised are like a big step, right? So quickly, because there's not so much time left, there's a couple of case study actually that I think they are interesting. Waste recycling. There's like Suez in France actually use the blockchain to just track the waste out of water treatment facilities. It's like they are using these waste to actually feed, like to spread it on the agricultural land. And usually we used to harvest this nitrate for say like for growing the crops. So they create that system with the blockchain where you can actually measure and trust like the traceability from the output of the water treatment facility to the field and the logistic, all of it, and you can actually calculate and do the balance of like what you are saving. From this project, actually, they create a marketplace for all like industrial waste that are organic that we can buy and repurpose in some way. It's a bit like the carbon stock exchange. Another thing is the Aura, the luxury blockchain. It's a consortium. It's a LVMH and Prada Group and Richmond that have launched this thing. I think it's like last week or 2 weeks ago, and there's all this concept where actually you can prove the authenticity of the product, right? And it's interesting because you can imagine that at some point you bring more value with this information regarding to where you are sourcing the material and like who's doing it, is it fair, and then like you have like the authenticity that it's not a fake one, right, which is like the obvious use case. But then like let's say that you want to resell that thing a little bit like the NFT right now, where you have like all these virtual sport card, but let's say that this luxury product have been wear by somebody like that is famous. Maybe if you want to resell it, actually you can create a value out of it because this one have something a little bit more special out of it, right? The Recommerce, again, it's a trendy name, but it's like it's all about resale, rental, and subscription model. We think about a lot of e-commerce platform and marketplace, but what about if we just build this system that we can like value like these kind of product where there's a zero waste system that is behind it. Like I'm not using my snowboard anymore for some reason. Why I would not sell it there, or like just like exchange to something that is more fit to me. That's stuff that is there. The Renewal Workshop is an interesting concept where they just like offer this platform for all these brands to help them to develop this design practice. Levi's second hand, actually it's interesting. You can buy a new Levi's and then you can say, okay, but I want to swap with the one that I'm used to wear. Why not like having a credit out of it and like recirculate that gene to somebody else, right? So this is like one of the key aspects. It's the authentication, the digital identity, signature, and traceability of the technology will play a key role for trust. Again, trust is like value. More and more I see things regarding the blockchain and how they are using it. It's like this is the key. Tomorrow it's another thing. It's like, again, by the signature with the QR code that you can scan, actually you can authenticate that you have a true product that have been like properly sourced and sustainable. Digitalisation is what allows brands to track the life cycle of a product, which is building block of the circular economy. So yeah, it's all there. Quickly, 2 minutes left, sorry. There's the sharing platform, product as a service. It's like instead of buying, why we are not subscribing and share like the product by itself. I know that there's that model that is like getting stronger and bigger right now regarding the appliance. It's like a subscription base for like your dryer. You will have one that can be maintained and repaired by the company, right? Grover, it's a nice startup that I've been creating in Germany, where actually it's a little bit like a Blockbuster in the past, where you could rent your PlayStation or whatever, and like for the moment you need it, but actually you just like create and reuse what you really need to use, right? Creating a new regenerative system by introducing AI and to design. This is a bit what I've explained earlier. It's regarding like the way you build your product. There's tools that help you to design properly what you're doing. This is like one of the example with stuffs there. It's a nice company. So at the end, I'm just hoping that we can at some point decarbonize Valtec. It can be some kind of manifesto, right? It need to be done, I think. There's a bunch of principle, trust and certification that is out there that we can put in place. I like this one where art is non-fungible. It's not a Bitcoin. We only have one and it's unique, right? So we can do this for us, for our planet and our client. And voila, merci.